They say she walks the streets of Japan at night, hidden beneath the folds of a long coat and a surgical mask, blending in with the mundane. She could be anywhere, lurking behind vending machines, under dim lights, or even right beside you on a quiet sidewalk. And if she stops you, if she turns toward you, you'll see her eyes first, wide, unblinking, hollow with rage and sorrow. Then she asks a question.
私って綺麗?
It's simple, direct, but the weight of the words burrows into your chest like ice. If you're polite, you'll say yes. Of course you're pretty. What else would you say to a stranger who's clearly unstable? But then she slowly peels off her mask, revealing the truth, jagged, gruesome scars splitting her mouth from ear to ear. Her grin is impossibly wide, a grotesque parody of beauty. Flesh torn, lips shredded, her smile isn't warm, it's a death sentence. She'll ask again.
じゃあ、これではどう?
Answer wrong and you die. Say no and she pulls a pair of rusty scissors from her coat and slices your body open, imitating the gaping wound across her face. Say yes again and she carves your mouth to match hers, so you'll always be as beautiful as she is. Some stories claim there's no right answer, only one way out, confusion. If you can throw her off, replying with something vague like, "You're average," or "Do you think I'm pretty?" she may pause long enough to escape, but few ever think that clearly. Kuchisake-onna's origins are steeped in urban legend, whispered in schoolyards and spread by mouth like a virus. But the roots may go deeper into the feudal era of Japan. Back then, she was said to be a woman married to a powerful samurai, beautiful beyond belief, but unfaithful. When he discovered her infidelity, he didn't just kill her, he mutilated her, slashing her mouth from ear to ear in a jealous frenzy. As she bled out, gasping and choking, he snarled, "Who will think you're beautiful now?" But death didn't silence her. It amplified her agony. She returned as a vengeful spirit, consumed by rage and sorrow, and over the centuries her story evolved, shifting with the times. In the 1970s, Japan experienced a wave of mass panic, especially among children. Reports of a masked woman chasing students home began to flood towns across the country. Teachers and parents were forced to escort kids to and from school. One rumor even suggested she was shot and killed by police, but that her ghost returned the next night. In modern tales, she hides in plain sight. The surgical mask, once unusual, is now common in Japanese society. Nobody questions someone wearing one, especially not during flu season or since the pandemic. That's what makes her so terrifying. She could be anyone, right behind you on the train, standing across the street, waiting outside a 7-Eleven, and, if you make eye contact, if she approaches you, there's no escape. The psychology of Kuchisake-onna goes deeper than just a jump scare. She represents something deeply embedded in the culture, societal pressure around your appearance, the role of a woman, and the horrors of domestic violence. The original legend isn't just about a ghost, it's about how society punishes women for stepping outside expectation, and how that punishment lingers far beyond death. In many ways, she is a cautionary tale, but the fear she inspires isn't just based in morality, it's existential. You don't see her coming, you don't know her face, and you don't even get a chance to run until it's too late. And worst of all, you might just answer her question without thinking. You might say yes, and then you'll never stop screaming. Some ghosts haunt your dreams, others haunt places, but Teke Teke isn't satisfied with that. She haunts you, follows you, chases you relentlessly. She doesn't float. She doesn't whisper. She drags herself toward you, scraping her elbows across the concrete with jagged, wet sounds. A sickening mix of bone and blood against the ground. That's the noise you hear before she kills you. Teke, teke, teke. The sound of a nightmare inching closer. They say she was a schoolgirl once. Ordinary, quiet. Just another face in the crowd. One rainy evening, she tried to run across the train tracks on her way home. She slipped. Maybe it was the slick metal rails, maybe it was panic, but she fell. And the train didn't stop. The wheels cut her clean in half at the waist, but that wasn't the end of her. Oh no, that was only the beginning. Now, her spirit lingers, only her upper body remaining, arms dragging, hair matted with blood, her eyes wide with animalistic hatred. She's faster than she should be, inhumanly fast. Despite having no legs, she can crawl at full sprint speed. Blink and she's 10 feet closer. Turn around and she's already behind you. The name Teke Teke comes from the sound she makes. Some say it's her elbows hitting the ground, others say it's her fingernails. Either way, it's unmistakable. Once you hear it, it's already too late. And when she catches you, she doesn't just kill. She severs. She cuts her victims in half, just like her own mutilation. It's her curse. And her revenge. But Teke Teke isn't just a ghost of a girl. Over the decades, the legend has evolved. Some say she's a spirit that inhabits specific train stations. Others say she roams wherever she pleases. Alleys, school corridors, deserted roads. She doesn't just haunt a place, she infects a story. Whisper her name, share her tale, and she may just come for you next. Because that's part of the curse. You speak of her, and she listens. There's another layer to the legend, one even more disturbing. A variation of the story mentions a woman named Kashima Raiko, another spirit killed on train tracks. If you hear her name, she'll visit you within a week and ask, "Where are my legs?" If you answer incorrectly or don't know how to respond, she rips your legs off. Supposedly, the correct answer is on the Meishin Expressway, but even knowing that doesn't always save you. These stories play into something primal, vulnerability, the fear of being chased and not being able to run, the idea that no matter how fast or strong you are, something broken and wrong will still catch you. Because you don't just run from Teke Teke, you run from inevitability. The urban legends became so widespread that children in Japan genuinely feared going home alone at night. There were even reports of kids saying they heard the scraping sound beneath their windows, always at dusk, just close enough to be heard but never seen. Teke Teke isn't bound by the rules most ghosts follow. She's not tethered to a specific place. She doesn't haunt an object. She doesn't need a ritual or an invitation. She is pure violence. If she decides to come for you, she will. And when she reaches you, she'll make sure your screams are the last thing your lungs ever manage. Some monsters lurk in shadows, hidden in alleys or closets or under your bed. But Gashadokuro, you don't hide from it. You run, and you hope it doesn't hear you. It's said to be over 15 times the height of an average man, made entirely of human bones, not just one skeleton, but hundreds. thousands, all fused together in a towering abomination. The bones belong to the forgotten, the unfound, the starved. People who died nameless, in wars and famines, their bodies left to rot under sun and rain. Their agony didn't die with them, it merged, twisted, took shape, and now that shape walks the earth. Gashadokuro doesn't groan or scream like a typical monster. It creeps, nearly silent despite its size. The only sound you might hear, if you're lucky enough to be warned, is a faint rattling, like teeth chattering, or bones brushing against each other. But most victims don't hear a thing until it's too late. That's part of what makes it so terrifying. It's stealth. It waits. It stalks. It looms silently above empty roads in quiet villages, blending with the night sky, waiting for someone to walk alone. And when it strikes, it grabs its prey in a massive skeletal hand and lifts them high into the air. Then it bites, not to kill quickly, no. Gashadokuro chews its victim slowly, methodically, savoring every crunch. Bones snap, flesh tears, blood pours. It doesn't eat out of hunger, it eats out of rage. This creature isn't a mere yokai. It's a manifestation of mass suffering. It's born from the collective hatred of the abandoned dead. Every war-torn battlefield, every mass grave, every city left in famine. They feed it. Gashadokuro is a walking graveyard held together by bitterness and spiritual rot. Some say it cannot be killed, only appeased, and even that is nearly impossible because it doesn't want forgiveness, it wants revenge. The legend dates back over 1,000 years. One origin points to the Heian period, when the sorceress, Takeyasha Hime, the daughter of a rebel warlord, conjured a massive skeleton with dark magic to destroy the emperor's forces. In her grief and fury, she summoned the dead themselves to take up arms. The beast was the first Gashadokuro, but they didn't stop there. Even today, sightings persist. People walking late at night have claimed to feel an overwhelming sense of dread, followed by a sudden, crushing pressure, like someone was looming just overhead. Phones lose signal, lights flicker, and the rattling starts. In modern adaptations, the creature has been imagined walking through cityscapes, barely visible unless you look up. Really look up, between buildings. Streetlights flicker, not from faulty wiring, but because something massive just blocked the stars. Imagine stepping outside for air and realizing the quiet isn't peaceful, it's unnatural. The birds are gone, the wind is still, and above you a skull the size of a car tilts its head and watches. And it smiles. There's no bargaining with Gashadokuro. No offering, no chant or talisman. If you're on its path, your only hope is to hide. Don't speak, don't breathe, don't move. It hunts by sound. Its skull has no eyes, only empty sockets, but it hears your heartbeat. A single cough, a misstep, the snap of a twig underfoot, and it knows where you are. The creature doesn't just kill, it erases. Victims are taken whole, their bodies crushed or devoured entirely. Nothing is left, no evidence, no trace, just silence. That's why most don't believe the legend, because no one ever returns to confirm it. But those who live near old battlefields in Japan, or rural towns struck hard by famine centuries ago, they still light candles at night. They still place offerings by the roadside, just in case. Because sometimes, the wind carries more than just the leaves. Sometimes it carries the echo of bones. She appears to you when you're most vulnerable, Maybe you've wandered into the mountains, tired and lost. Maybe you're drunk and alone, stumbling home through empty streets. Or maybe you're simply enchanted by her beauty. And you should be. She's flawless. Pale skin, long black hair, crimson lips that part ever so slightly when she speaks your name. Though you've never told her what it is, she knows anyway. Her voice is silk, her laugh hypnotic, and her touch, like a thread wrapping itself around your soul. You feel safe, desired, loved even. But what you don't realize is that she's already weaving. She's already feeding. This is Jorōgumo, the woman who isn't a woman at all. The name literally translates to binding bride or whore spider, depending on the context, and both meanings fit. She is a predator cloaked in seduction, a shape-shifting yokai that takes the form of a stunningly beautiful woman to lure men into her lair. But when the door shuts behind you, the illusion unravels. Her body splits open, her eyes multiply, legs emerge where none should be, and the ceiling, oh God, the ceiling, is already laced with silk, webs glistening with dew and bone dust. You've never noticed them before, but they were always there. Just like her smile, always waiting, always patient, because Jorōgumo doesn't rush her meals. She paralyzes her victims with venom, not just physical, but emotional. You want to be there. You need her. By the time you notice, your muscles won't move. Your arms stuck to the wall in glistening thread. Your heartbeat is already slowing. Not because of poison, but because she's already draining the life out of you. Not fast. Never fast. Just slow enough for you to feel every second. Some victims die in agony, others in ecstasy, but they all die. The legend is said to have originated from the behavior of actual spiders, specifically the golden orb weaver. It was believed that when a spider lived for over 400 years, it gained supernatural powers. But Jorōgumo isn't just a long-lived bug. There's one particularly infamous tale from the Edo period. Centered around the Jorin Falls in Izu, a wandering woodcutter paused near the falls to rest. He heard the soft strains of a lute and saw a woman in the mist. Impossible, beautiful, combing her long black hair. Entranced, he approached, but never returned. More men vanished near those waters. More voices were heard, soft, feminine, calling to passers-by. Eventually it became known the falls were cursed. No one dared go near after dusk, and those who did, if they came back at all, were never the same. Pale, hollow-eyed, as if part of them had been left behind in her web. Some say she can control other spiders, weaving illusions to distract her prey. Others claim she can create human puppets out of her victims, dressing them in skin and smiles and sending them back into the world to bring her more food. Imagine that. A friend, a lover, someone you trust knocking at your door, but inside, behind the eyes, she's still there, watching. Even more terrifying is the idea that Jorōgumo doesn't always kill. Sometimes she keeps you, wraps you in her silk and suspends you in a dark, damp cavern for months, maybe years, feeding on you slowly, just enough to keep you alive, just enough to savor the slow decay of your will, your sanity, your soul. And when she's finally finished, your husk drops to the floor, a dried out shell, your last expression frozen in a mixture of terror and longing. The real horror of Jorōgumo is not that she hunts men, it's that she lures them, that they follow willingly, like moths into a flame. That even knowing the risk, even knowing the stories, some still go looking for her, because the human heart, desperate for love, attention, and beauty, it can blind you. and she knows that. She counts on it. So if you ever find yourself deep in the woods and a soft, melodic voice calls out to you, if you see a beautiful woman brushing her hair by moonlight, all alone, turn around. Don't speak. Don't look. Because no matter how much she smiles, no matter how much she flutters her lashes, Jorōgumo doesn't want your heart. She wants your body. And by the time you realize you've been caught in her web, she's already begun to eat. The bathroom is supposed to be a place of privacy, a moment of vulnerability, a quiet, empty room where you're alone, behind locked doors, safe from the outside world. But in Japan, there's a reason children fear the last stall, especially if it's the one furthest from the door, because that's where he waits. His name is Manto, the red cloak, and once you see him, once you hear his voice, your fate is already sealed. The legend goes like this. You're sitting in a toilet stall, usually at school, usually late in the day when the halls are empty and the building feels off. The lights might flicker, you might hear a whisper through the vent or the rustle of fabric behind the stall door. Then, without warning, a deep calm voice speaks from behind you. Would you like red paper or blue? That's the question. It's always the same. And no matter what you answer, you die. If you say red, the walls are painted with your blood, slashed, stabbed, torn apart so violently that your body is left soaked in crimson, as if you've wrapped yourself in a red cloak. If you say blue, your blood is drained, your skin turns pale, lips blue, your body collapses as if it's suffocated by invisible hands. Some think they're clever. They'll say no paper, but Manto doesn't like to be ignored. Then there are those who try to flee the stall mid-question. They don't make it far. Something grabs them before they can reach the door. Something unseen, something cold, and then they're gone, silent, as if they never entered at all. He's not like other ghosts. He doesn't scream or chase. He doesn't knock or scratch. He simply appears elegant and composed. They say he wears a long crimson cloak, smooth, flowing like silk, with a high collar and white gloves. His face is concealed behind a porcelain mask, expressionless and cold. Some versions of the tale say he has no face at all, just blackness behind the mask. A void. But you can feel him watching. There's no reason, no motive, no moral to the story. Manto doesn't kill because he's angry or vengeful. He kills because that's what he does. He is an entity of death bound to a question, bound to ritual, a folkloric trap set in porcelain and tile, and if you fall into it, there's no escape. The first stories of Manto emerged in the early 20th century, but the details vary by region. In some version, he offers a red or white cloak. Choosing red ends in mutilation, choosing white leads to dismemberment. Other versions have him asking which color of cape or mask you prefer. But in every version, the result is the same. You cannot win. There are even urban legends tying him to real-life school tragedies. Some say children disappeared without explanation. One moment they were using the restroom, the next, vanished. When police investigated, they found only blood-splattered floors and a strong scent of incense. But no fingerprints, no footprints, no sign anyone had ever entered the building. And then, the next week, someone else would hear the question, red or blue. There are rare accounts, whispers really, of people who survived. Not by answering, but by refusing to engage at all. They say if you keep silent, if you ignore the voice, the presence will eventually fade. But that's easier said than done. Because once you hear him speak, the voice doesn't leave your head. It follows you. Outside the stall, into the hallway, onto the train, at home, whispering, waiting for an answer, over and over again. Red or blue. Red or blue. Imagine living the rest of your life with that voice clawing at your mind. You'd either answer or go insane. That's the kind of monster Manto is. Not a slasher, not a beast, but an idea. A cursed thought that becomes reality once it's heard. A kind of verbal virus. Say his name, tell his story, and he's closer. In recent years, schools in Japan have taken to locking certain stalls shut or removing mirrors from specific restrooms, but not out of superstition, out of fear. Children spread the tales in whispers, teachers dismiss them with nervous laughter, but no one, not even the skeptics, used the last stall in an empty bathroom after dark, because that's where he is, waiting, silent, behind the door. And if you're unlucky enough to hear that cold, inhuman voice ask you a simple question, you better pray your silence is louder than your fear.